Ernst Röhm was born in 1887 in Munich, Bavaria, German Empire. His father, Julius Röhm, held a respectable position as a civil servant in the Bavarian railways, providing the family with financial stability and social standing. Ernst Röhm's mother was named Emily Franziska Röhm. Little is known about her life, as she led a private and traditional lifestyle. But she reportedly managed the household with strictness, reinforcing a sense of discipline in Rome from a young age. The Röhm family was Protestant, and they resided in Munich, a major center of German cultural and political life. Growing up in such an environment exposed Röhm to the nationalist ideas that were increasingly prevalent during that time. As the Röhm family was middle class with conservative values, it is likely that Emily played a conventional role within the family, impacting Ernst's upbringing by fostering his appreciation for order and authority. These qualities, introduced by his mother, became evident later in his life and shaped his military and political character. In 1906, Röhm entered the 10th Bavarian Infantry Division, King Ludwig, at Ingolstadt as a cadet, even though his family had no military tradition. He was commissioned as a lieutenant on the 12th of March 1908. At the outbreak of World War I in August 1914, he was adjutant of the 1st Battalion, 10th Infantry Regiment König. The following month, he was seriously wounded in the face at Chano Wood in Lorraine and carried the scars for the rest of his life. He was promoted to First Lieutenant, Oberleutnant, in April 1915. During an attack on the fortification at Thieraumont, Verdun, on the 23rd of June 1916, he sustained a serious chest wound and spent the remainder of the war in France and Romania as a staff officer. He was awarded the Iron Cross First Class before being wounded at Verdun, and was promoted to Captain, Hauptmann, in April 1917. Among his comrades, Röhm was considered a fanatical, simple-minded swashbuckler who frequently displayed contempt for danger. In his memoirs, Röhm reported that during the autumn of 1918, he contracted the deadly Spanish influenza and was not expected to live, but recovered after a lengthy convalescence. Following the armistice of the 11th of November 1918 that ended the war, Röhm continued his military career as a captain in the Reichswehr. He was one of the senior members in Franz Ritter von Epp's Bavarian Free Corps for Border Patrol East, formed in Ohrdruf in April 1919, which finally overturned the Munich Soviet Republic by force of arms on the 3rd of May 1919. In 1919 he joined the German Workers' Party, DAP, which the following year became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP. His membership number was 623. Not long afterward he met Adolf Hitler, and they became political allies and close friends. Throughout the early 1920s, Röhm remained an important intermediary between Germany's right-wing paramilitary organizations and the Reichswehr. Additionally, it was Röhm who persuaded his former army commander, Franz Ritter von Epp, to join the Nazis, an important development, since Epp helped raise the 60,000 marks needed to purchase the Nazi periodical, the Völkischer Beobachter. In early 1923, he took part in the establishment of a federation of paramilitary organizations that was titled Arbeitsgemeinschaft and aimed at strengthening the army and combating Marxist influences. During early September 1923, when the Nazi Party held its German Day celebration at Nuremberg, it was Röhm who helped bring together some 100,000 participants drawn from right-wing militant groups, veterans associations, and other paramilitary formations, which included the Bund Oberland, Reichskriegsflag, the SA, and the Kampfbund, all of them subordinate to Hitler as political leader of the Collective Alliance. Röhm resigned or retired from the Reichswehr on the 26th of September 1923. In November 1923, Röhm led the Reichskriegsflag militia at the time of the Munich beer hall putsch. He rented the cavernous main hall of the Lohenbraukeller, supposedly for a reunion and festive comradeship. Meanwhile, Hitler and his entourage were at the Bürgerbraukeller. Röhm planned to start the revolution and use the units at his disposal to obtain weapons from secret caches with which to occupy crucial points in the center of the city. When the call came, He announced to those assembled in the Lohenbraukeller that the Kahr government had been deposed and Hitler had declared a national revolution, which elicited wild cheering. Röhm then led his force of nearly 2,000 men to the War Ministry, which they occupied for 16 hours. Once in control of the Reichswehr headquarters, Röhm awaited news, barricaded inside. The subsequent march into the city center led by Hitler, Hermann Göring, and General Erich Ludendorff with banners flying high, was ostensibly undertaken to free Röhm and his forces. While crowds cheered, egged on by Gregor Strasser shouting, "Heil, Hitler's armed assembly," wearing red swastika armbands, encountered Bavarian state policemen, who were prepared to counter the putsch. Around the time the marchers reached the Feldherrnhall near the city center, shots were fired, scattering the participants. By the end of the gunfire, 14 Nazis and 4 policemen had been killed. The putsch had failed and the Nazis' first bid for power had lasted less than 24 hours. In February 1924, following the failed putsch, Röhm, Hitler, Ludendorff, Lieutenant Colonel Hermann Kriebel and 6 others were tried for high treason. Röhm was found guilty and sentenced to 15 months in prison, but the sentence was suspended and he was placed on probation. Hitler was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, but served only 9 months at Landsberg prison, under permissively lenient conditions. In April 1924, Röhm became a Reichstag deputy for the Völkisch, Racial National Socialist Freedom Party. He made only one speech, urging the release of Kriebel. In the December 1924 election, the seats won by his party were much reduced, and his name was too far down the list to return him to the Reichstag. While Hitler was in prison, Röhm helped to create the Frontbahn as a legal alternative to the then outlawed Sturmabteilung, SA. Hitler did not fully support Röhm's ambitious plans for this organization, which proved problematic. Hitler was distrustful of these paramilitary organizations because competing groups like the Bund Wiking, the Bund Bayern und Reich, and the Blutsverband were all vying for membership, and he realized from the failed putsch that these groups could not be legitimated so long as the police and Reichswehr stayed loyal to the government. When in April 1925 Hitler and Ludendorff disapproved of the proposals under which Röhm was prepared to integrate the 30,000-strong Frontbahn into the SA, Röhm resigned from all political groups and military brigades on the 1st of May 1925. He felt great contempt for the legalistic path the party leaders wanted to follow and sought seclusion from public life. In 1928, Röhm was recruited by Wilhelm Kaiser, nominally the Bolivian military attaché in the Netherlands, to serve as an advisor to the Bolivian army. In the autumn of 1930, Röhm received a telephone call from Hitler requesting his return to Germany. In September 1930, as a consequence of the Stennis revolt in Berlin, Hitler assumed supreme command of the SA as its new Oberster SA Führer. He sent a personal request to Röhm, asking him to return to serve as the SA's chief of staff. Röhm accepted this offer and began his new assignment on the 5th of January 1931. He brought radical new ideas to the SA and appointed several close friends to its senior leadership. Previously, the SA formations were subordinate to the Nazi party leadership of each Gau. Röhm established new Gruppe, which had no regional Nazi party oversight. Each Gruppe extended over several regions and was commanded by an SA Gruppenführer who answered only to Röhm or Hitler. The SA by this time numbered over 1 million members. Their initial assignment of protecting Nazi leaders at rallies and assemblies was taken over by the Schutzstaffel, SS, in relation to the top leaders. The SA did continue its street battles against the communists, forces of rival political parties, and violent actions against Jews and others deemed hostile to the Nazi agenda. Under Röhm, the SA often took the side of workers in strikes and other labor disputes, attacking strikebreakers and supporting picket lines. SA intimidation contributed to the rise of the Nazis and the violent suppression of rival parties during electoral campaigns, but its reputation for street violence and heavy drinking was a hindrance, as was the rumored homosexuality of Röhm and other SA leaders such as his deputy Edmund Heiners. In June 1931, the Münchener Post, a social democratic newspaper, began attacking Röhm and the SA regarding homosexuality in its ranks, and then in March 1932, the paper obtained and published some private letters of his in which Röhm described himself as same-sex oriented, gleichgeschlechtlich. Hitler was aware of Röhm's homosexuality. Their friendship shows in that Röhm remained one of the few intimates allowed to use the familiar German du, the German familiar form of you, when conversing with Hitler. Röhm was the only Nazi leader who dared to address Hitler by his first name, Adolf, or his nickname, Adi, rather than Mein Führer. Their close association led to rumors that Hitler himself was homosexual. 40. Unlike many in the Nazi hierarchy, Röhm never fell victim to Hitler's arresting personality, nor did he come fully under his spell, which made him unique. As Hitler rose to national power with his appointment as Chancellor in January 1933, SA members were appointed auxiliary police and ordered by Göring to sweep aside all enemies of the state. Röhm and the SA regarded themselves as the vanguard of the National Socialist Revolution. After Hitler's national takeover, they expected radical changes in Germany, including power and rewards for themselves, unaware that, as Chancellor, Hitler no longer needed their street-fighting capabilities. Nevertheless, Hitler did name Röhm to numerous important party and state positions. On the 2nd of June 1933, Hitler named him a Reichsleiter, the second highest political rank in the Nazi Party. He was made a member of the Prussian State Council on the 14th of September and a member of the Academy for German Law on the 3rd of October, advancing to its Leadership Council, Vorrat, in November. On the 12th of November, Röhm was elected to the Reichstag. Finally, on the 2nd of December 1933, he was named to the Reich Cabinet as a Reichsminister without portfolio by a provision in the law to secure the unity of party and state aimed at interlocking the leadership of the party and the government. At the same time, he also was made a member of the Reich Defense Council. Many SA stormtroopers had working-class origins and longed for a radical transformation of German society. They were disappointed by the new regime's lack of socialistic direction and its failure to provide the lavish patronage they had expected. Furthermore, Röhm and his SA colleagues thought of their force as the core of the future German army, and saw themselves as replacing the Reichswehr and its established professional officer corps. By then, the SA had swollen to over 3 million men, dwarfing the Reichswehr, which was limited to 100,000 men by the Treaty of Versailles. He believed that the Reichswehr should be merged into the SA to form a true People's Army under his command, a pronouncement that caused significant consternation within the army's hierarchy and convinced them that the SA was a serious threat. 51. At a February 1934 cabinet meeting, Röhm then demanded that the merger be made, under his leadership as Minister of Defense. This horrified the army. The Army Officer Corps viewed the SA as an undisciplined mob of brawling street thugs, and was also concerned by the pervasiveness of corrupt morals within the ranks of the SA. Reports of a huge cache of weapons in the hands of SA members caused additional concern to the army leadership. Unsurprisingly, the Officer Corps opposed Röhm's proposal. They insisted that discipline and honor would vanish if the SA gained control, but Röhm and the SA would settle for nothing less. In addition, the army leadership was eager to cooperate with Hitler given his plan of rearmament and expansion of the established professional military forces. On the 11th of April 1934, Hitler met with German military leaders on the ship Deutschland. By that time, he knew President Paul von Hindenburg would likely die before the end of the year. Hitler informed the army hierarchy of Hindenburg's declining health and proposed that the Reichswehr support him as Hindenburg's successor. In exchange, he offered to reduce the SA, suppress Röhm's ambitions, and guarantee the Reichswehr would be Germany's only military force. According to war correspondent William L. Scher, Hitler also promised to expand the army and navy. Although determined to curb the power of the SA, Hitler put off doing away with his longtime ally. A political struggle within the party grew, with those closest to Hitler, including Prussian Premier Hermann Göring, Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels, and Reichsführer SS Heinrich Himmler, positioning themselves against Rome. To isolate Rome, on the 20th of April 1934, Göring transferred control of the Prussian political police, Gestapo, to Himmler, who he believed could be counted on to move against Rome. Both the Reichswehr and the conservative business community continued to complain to Hindenburg about the SA. In early June, Defense Minister Werner von Blomberg issued an ultimatum to Hitler from Hindenburg. Unless Hitler took immediate steps to end the growing tension in Germany, Hindenburg would declare martial law and turn over control of the country to the army. The threat of a declaration of martial law from Hindenburg, the only person in Germany with the authority to potentially depose the Nazi regime, put Hitler under pressure to act. Hitler decided the time had come both to destroy Rome and to settle scores with old enemies. Both Himmler and Göring welcomed Hitler's decision, since both had much to gain by Rome's downfall, the independence of the SS for Himmler, and the removal of a rival for Göring. In June 1934, in preparation for the purge known as the Night of the Long Knives, both Himmler and Reinhard Heydrich, chief of the SS Security Service, assembled a dossier of manufactured evidence to suggest that Rome had been paid 12 million by the government of France to overthrow Hitler. Leading officers in the SS were shown falsified evidence on the 24th of June that Rome planned to use the SA to launch a plot against the government. At Hitler's direction, Göring, Himmler, Heydrich, and Victor Lutz drew up lists of people in and outside the SA to be killed. One of the men Göring recruited to assist him was Willy Lehmann, a Gestapo official and NKVD spy. On the 25th of June, General Werner von Fritsch placed the Reichswehr on the highest level of alert. On the 27th of June, Hitler moved to secure the army's cooperation. Blomberg and General Walter von Reichenau, the army's liaison to the party, gave it to him by expelling Rome from the German Officers' League. On the 28th of June, Hitler went to Essen to attend Joseph Terboven's wedding celebration and reception. From there he called Rome's adjutant at Bad Wiessee and ordered SA leaders to meet with him on the 30th of June at 11 a.m. On the 29th of June, and the 30th of June 1934, Hitler and a large group of SS and regular police flew to Munich and arrived between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock at Hanselbauer Hotel in Bad Wiessee, where Röhm and his followers were staying. With Hitler's early arrival, the SA leadership, still in bed, were taken by surprise. SS men stormed the hotel and Hitler personally placed Röhm and other high-ranking SA leaders under arrest. According to Erich Kempka, Hitler turned Röhm over to two detectives holding pistols with the safety catch-off. The SS found Breslau SA leader Edmund Heiners in bed with an unidentified 18-year-old male SA senior troop leader. Goebbels emphasized this aspect in subsequent Nazi propaganda, justifying the purge as a crackdown on moral turpitude. 59. Kempka said in a 1946 interview that Hitler ordered both Heiners and his partner taken outside of the hotel and shot. Meanwhile, the SS arrested the other SA leaders as they left their train for the planned meeting with Röhm and Hitler. Joseph Goebbels, who had been with Hitler at Bad Wiessee, set the final phase of the plan in motion. Upon returning to Berlin, Goebbels telephoned Göring at 10 o'clock with the code word Kolibri, hummingbird, to let loose the execution squads on the rest of their unsuspecting victims. Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler commander Sepp Dietrich received orders from Hitler to form an execution squad and go to Stadelheim prison in Munich, where Röhm and other SA leaders were being held under arrest. There in the prison courtyard, the Leibstandarte firing squad shot 5 SA generals and an SA colonel. Several of those not immediately executed were taken back to the Leibstandarte barracks at Lichterfeld, given 1-minute trials and shot by a firing squad. Röhm himself, however, was kept prisoner. Hitler was hesitant in authorizing Röhm's execution, perhaps because of loyalty or embarrassment about the execution of an important lieutenant. He eventually did so, and agreed that Röhm should have the option of suicide. On the 1st of July 1934, SS Brigadierführer Theodor Eicke visited Röhm. Once inside Röhm's cell, They handed him a Browning pistol loaded with a single cartridge and told him he had 10 minutes to kill himself or they would do it for him. Röhm demurred, telling him, "If I am to be killed, let Adolf do it himself." Having heard nothing in the allotted time, Eicke and Lippert returned to Röhm's cell at 1450 to find him standing, with his bare chest puffed out in a gesture of defiance. Eicke and Lippert then shot and killed Röhm. While some Germans were shocked by the killings of the 30th of June to the 2nd of July 1934, many others saw Hitler as the one who restored order to the country. Goebbels's propaganda highlighted the Röhm Putsch in the days that followed. The homosexuality of Röhm and other SA leaders was made public to add shock value, even though it had been known to Hitler and other Nazi leaders for years. In a nationally broadcast speech to the Reichstag on the 13th of July, Hitler justified the purge as a defense against treason. Before the events of the Night of the Long Knives concluded, not only was Röhm dead, but more than 200 additional people had been killed, including Nazi official Gregor Strasser, former Chancellor General Kurt von Schleicher, and Franz von Pappen's secretary, Edgar Jung. Most of those murdered had little to no affiliation with Röhm but were killed for political reasons. And so ends the story of Ernst Röhm, a man who began his journey as a loyal soldier in World War I and became one of the founding figures of the Nazi Party's SA. His ambitions, however, clashed with those of Adolf Hitler, leading to his tragic end on the Night of the Long Knives. Röhm's legacy remains controversial, symbolizing the extremist forces that rose rapidly to power and were ultimately consumed by internal conflicts and ruthless ambition. His story is a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and how inner struggles can dismantle even the strongest alliances. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what topics you'd like to see next. Until then, keep striving for success, and see you in the next video.